Canada is no longer the easy dream people think it is. If you believe that simply arriving in Canada guarantees you a path to permanent residence, you are already losing a race you don't even know you're in. Today, I'm going to tell you the truth that most agents won't. Welcome back to Canada Pathway Immigration, your most trusted source for honest, clear, and up-to-date Canadian immigration guidance. I'm Lou, your immigration lawyer, and today's video is for everyone who wants to build a real future in Canada. Whether you're in the Philippines, the Middle East, or already inside Canada on a work permit. If you're new to this channel, please hit that subscribe button right now and turn on the bell notification, because the information we share here can literally change the direction of your life. Today, we are breaking down the new reality of Canadian immigration in 2026. And this reality is not simple, it is not easy, but understanding it is absolutely essential. Let's get into it. Let's start with a little history because context matters. The relationship between Filipinos and Canada goes back decades. Historically, Filipino nurses and caregivers came to Canada under conditions that were far from ideal. Difficult employers, harsh working environments, long separations from family. But through all of that, there was one thing that made it worth it: a practically guaranteed pathway to permanent residence. As long as you met the qualifications, passed the security checks, the door to permanent residence was open. Manitoba, and particularly Winnipeg, is a living testament to that era. In fact, Winnipeg today hosts one of the largest Filipino populations relative to total city size anywhere in Canada. And that community was built brick by brick through those early caregiver and nurse pathways. But that era is gone. Both the reality on the ground and the policies governing immigration have shifted so dramatically that the old Canadian immigration system is almost unrecognizable today. And to understand where we are in 2026, we need to understand how we got here. The Federal Skilled Worker Program was once a straightforward path. Then Canada became enormously popular as an immigration destination. And the line to get in grew so long that IRCC had no choice but to fundamentally restructure the system. Express Entry launched in 2015, and with it came the points-based comprehensive ranking system, the CRS score. The higher your score, the better your chances. And people quickly figured out that studying in Canada could boost their human capital factors and improve their CRS score, which could lead to permanent residence. The international student pathway seemed like a solution. People invested hundreds of thousands of pesos, their life savings, even sold property, just to fund studies in Canada with the goal of permanent residence on the other side. And for a while it worked. But then came a global rush. From India, from the Philippines, from the Middle East, because workers in the Middle East earn well but can never gain permanency there due to restrictive immigration policies. Canada looked like the permanent home they had always wanted. The result was a dramatic surge in competition. From 2017 onwards, CRS score cutoffs for Express Entry climbed steadily higher. What once worked at 440 points now required 500 or above. An arms race began, in Canadian experience, in education credentials, in age. And here's the painful reality for those over 30. CRS scores naturally decrease with age, which means being inside Canada is still an advantage, but it is no longer the overwhelming guarantee it once was. Now let's talk about regional programs, because this is where the competition has intensified just as sharply. The Atlantic Immigration Program, the AIP, was once considered a golden ticket. Employers loved it, provinces loved it, and applicants loved it because it offered a more accessible and community-focused pathway to permanent residence. But when word spread, everyone rushed for that gate. The total economic immigration slots for Canada sit at roughly 200,000 to 250,000 per year. And within that, the Atlantic Immigration Program has only 4,000 to 6,000 slots. In 2026 specifically, only 4,000 slots are available for the entire Atlantic Immigration Program. Supply and demand took over. New Brunswick began restricting applicants working in the food service industry as early as 2025. Nova Scotia, by late 2025, shifted both its provincial nomination program and the Atlantic Immigration Program into an expression of interest system. meaning Nova Scotia now selectively invites candidates rather than processing on a first-come, first-served basis. More selectivity means more competition. It is no longer enough to simply have a job offer. Now, you need a job offer in a high-demand occupation, with Canadian work experience, with localized community ties, ideally in the skilled trades. And this is not just about the Atlantic region. Provincial nomination programs across Canada are converging toward one model: employer-driven. If your employer is not actively supporting your immigration, many provincial programs simply will not work for you. Governments across Canada want candidates who are already embedded in the regional economy. People who are contributing, who have roots, who represent economic continuity rather than social burden. The perception around housing pressure and strain on social support systems is real, and it is shaping policy decisions in very direct ways. This means employer support has shifted from being helpful to being, in many programs, essentially mandatory. If you do not have that support, your options narrow significantly. And that is the honest reality you need to plan around. Now, within all of this difficulty, there are real advantages available, but you have to know how to use them strategically. French. The French language is not going away as an immigration advantage. This is a political reality, not just a policy preference. Canada is officially bilingual, English and French as the minority language carries constitutional protections. Within immigration, French speakers benefit from affirmative action in the form of dedicated category-based draws under express entry, which require a level 7 out of 10 French proficiency score. The Francophone Mobility Program, on the other hand, provides an LMIA-exempt work permit pathway requiring only a level 5, a significantly lower bar. The strategy here is to think of French as a bridge. Use the Francophone Mobility Program to secure your legal status inside Canada with an LMIA-exempt work permit. That buys you time. Time to build Canadian experience, time to improve your French to level 7, and time to position yourself for a French category express entry draw that leads directly to permanent residence. French is not just a language skill in 2026. It is a strategic immigration tool, and anyone who dismisses it is leaving a real advantage on the table. The third major shift you need to understand is regionalization. Immigration is becoming increasingly regional, and your pathway planning needs to reflect that from the very beginning, not 1 year before your post-graduation work permit expires. Choosing where in Canada you want to live and build your life is no longer just a lifestyle decision. It is a strategic immigration decision. Different provinces have different demands, different high-priority occupations, different employer cultures, and very different PMP structures. Smaller communities in particular have started developing what can only be described as an allergy toward applicants who appear to be parachuting in purely for immigration purposes with no genuine intention to stay. Employers in these communities are looking for people who are building a life there, not just using their address to secure a nomination. The takeaway is clear. Decide your regional target early. Build genuine ties to that community and approach employers not as an immigration transaction, but as a long-term employment relationship. That authenticity matters more now than it ever has before. Finally, we have to address the elephant in the room: policy uncertainty. Express entry itself is currently under review. IRCC has launched active consultations, first with industry stakeholders and then with the broader public, to evaluate whether the current system is delivering the outcomes Canada needs given the realities on the ground. In April 2026 alone, British Columbia, Nova Scotia, and Saskatchewan each announced significant changes to their provincial nomination programs. Ontario announced as early as January 2026 that consultations and studies are underway for potential reforms to the Ontario Immigrant Nominee Program. What this means for you is that the landscape is fluid. A program that exists today may look entirely different 6 months from now. That uncertainty is uncomfortable, but the answer to uncertainty is never paralysis. The answer is strategic planning with multiple backup options. You have invested too much, financially, emotionally, in terms of time and sacrifice, to rely on a single pathway. One primary plan is good. 2 or 3 backup plans is smart. Candidates who succeed in this environment are the ones who plan for multiple scenarios, not just the ideal one. So what does all of this mean in practical terms? Do not use hope as a plan. Canada is still an immigration country. That is true. Succeeding within its system is increasingly difficult. That is equally true. Both of those realities coexist, and accepting both is the starting point for making smart decisions. Work the parameters that exist right now. If French is within your reach, invest in it. If a trade certification opens doors in your target province, pursue it. If employer relationship building is the key to a provincial nomination, prioritize it. These are real, tangible moves that improve your position within the current system. And get proper professional advice. Canadian immigration in 2026 is not something you navigate successfully on YouTube videos alone, including this one. You need personalized, current, strategy-specific guidance from someone who is inside this system every single day. That's everything for today's episode on Canada Pathway Immigration. If this video gave you clarity, gave you something real to think about, please give it a like. Share it with someone who needs to hear this, and if you haven't subscribed yet, do it now. We are here for every update, every reform, every shift in the system, and we break it all down so you can make informed decisions about your future. I'm Lou, your immigration lawyer, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.